Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Caroline and let's talk about reading aloud to children who are 5 years and below. Reading aloud is a priority, it's not an option. Whether you're a parent or a teacher, reading aloud to your young learners or your young children is very important. So now let me teach you how to read aloud to children who are 5 years and below. So the first thing you do is select a book with plenty of pictures. So all that they need at this age is picture books, and make sure that each page has only one or two short sentences and not long passages. Avoid books that has long passages for this age group particularly. So select picture books like this, and the first step is discuss the cover page with the child. So you could just ask them questions like, what do you see in this picture, and get answers. Some children may not give you specific answers if you ask a random question like, what do you see in this book? So instead you could lead them and ask questions like, what is this? Do you know who is this? Is this a boy or a girl? What is this? Is this a dog or a cat? And what is the color of the dog? What is the dog wearing on his neck? So you could ask leading questions like this and get answers from the children. And the second step is introducing the title of the story. This is very important. So introduce the title of the story to the child. This story is titled Kipper's Laces. So this is the second step. So you discuss the cover page, you discuss the title. And then what you do is discuss the picture of each page before reading the sentences. So first you show this picture and ask, okay, so what do you see in this picture? You could see here is a boy and there are two people here, and what are they doing? They are trying on new shoes, right? Look, what's all this lying around? It all looks like shoes and boxes lying around. It's a mess, right? And what are they trying to do? What do you think is happening in this picture? Where do you think this boy is right now? So ask questions that would draw answers from the students, and instead of giving them the answers, try to extract the answers. Let them speak. So once you go through the picture and discuss what is happening, get opinions from the students, then you could ask them, have you ever gone to a shop to buy shoes or slippers? So allow them to speak about their experiences. I'm sure each one will raise their hands, especially in a preschool, each one will raise their hands and they will give you plenty of experiences. Let them speak, but encourage them to speak in English, because that's what you're trying to develop. The language English is what we're trying to develop in the children. So allow them to speak, encourage them. Please listen to them, give a listening ear to them. And once this discussion about this picture and personal experiences about buying shoes and slippers, experiences of going to different shops and trying on shoes, when all that is over, then you read the sentence and tell them, okay, now let's see what is happening here. Let's read this. Kipper wanted new shoes. And when you're reading, make sure that you read with proper expression. This is very important. When there is a full stop, make sure your intonation matches the punctuation. When there is a question mark, read it like a question. So your voice modulation and your intonation is very important for the child to understand how the language works and how it is spoken. So when you're reading, make sure your voice has a lot of expressions, and more than your facial expressions, let your voice convey the meaning. Kipper wanted new shoes. Now ask them, so what did Kipper want? He wanted new shoes. And by the way, what's the name of this guy? His name is Kipper. Make sure they remember the name of the characters in the story that are introduced. So this boy is called Kipper. He's a little boy like you, and he wanted new shoes, and that's why they are here purchasing new shoes. So once you're done with the first page, flip and discuss the second page. and ask them questions about what's happening in the picture. So what do you see in this picture? You see Kipper trying on shoes, right? And who is here? Who is standing here? Here is a lady. And what is she having in her hand? She's having money. So talk about why do we need money? Ask questions like, when you go to purchase shoes or slippers or dresses, does your daddy and mommy pay money to the shopkeeper? When they say yes, ask them why. So you talk about life, you talk about practical things through your story. So teach them why we use money, how you use money, and talk to them about the picture and relate it with real life experiences. So discuss this picture and then read the sentence. He couldn't tie his laces. So what is Kipper's problem now? He cannot tie his shoelaces. So now you can ask them, does anybody here know to tie your own shoelace? So you could talk about being independent and learning to do things for themselves on their own. So you could talk about that and ask them to learn how to tie their shoelaces on their own and not depend on mommy and daddy or teacher to do it for them. And then here it reads, Dad helped him. So who is this? This is Kipper's daddy. So talk about how their dads help them every day. So ask them, does your dad help you to put on your shoes? Does your dad help you to put on your clothes? Who dresses you in the morning when you come to school? Who drops you and who gives you a bath? So get into a personal discussion with the children. Relate all the activities in the story with the children's personal life. Ask them questions and allow them to speak. So this way they can relate to the story. They can relate to everything that's happening in the story, and therefore they will remember the story. So talk about each picture like this. I'm not going through the whole thing for sake of time. So talk about each picture and then read the sentences. So you see, this whole book is filled with pictures with very short and very few sentences. This is what we're aiming for. So discuss the whole book with them and now talk about what is their takeaway from the story. So ask them questions like, what is the story about? What did you learn from the story? And what are you going to do after learning things from the story? How are you going to use it in your life? So are you going to learn how to tie your laces? Are you going to depend on mommy and daddy to help you? Are you going to practice doing things for yourself? So talk about some takeaway from the story and ask questions. So who is the boy? What was his name? What happens in the story first? They go and they purchase shoes. He wanted shoes. And who helps him? What was his problem? He couldn't tie his laces. So talk about the sequence of the story to the children and make sure that they understand the sequence of the story. So this is how you read a storybook to children who are 5 years and below. Now, this complete book may not be done in one day, and that's okay. You can take 1 week to speak about each picture in each page as you move on, and that's totally fine. The aim here is you are giving children an enlarged vocabulary. You're giving them opportunity to speak, and you are teaching them vocabulary, picture vocabulary as you are reading the story. Now, the aim here is not to teach them to read. You are not teaching them to read the words. The aim of reading aloud is not teaching them to read. It's discussion, vocabulary enlargement, active listening, so they understand the meaning of sentences through your expression and through your intonations. So that's important. How they receive the language is what is important here, and not teaching them to read. So this reading part the teacher does, and you don't expect them to read this word. Don't ask them, so what is this word? They will not be able to read. You read it to them. The aim here is to give them a taste of the language, give them the vocabulary, and give them a sense of how the language is spoken. So this is how you do read aloud sessions with children 5 years and below. Please practice this whether you're a parent or a teacher. Have a story time in your routine and you will see marvelous changes in your child. So I'll see you again in another video. Until then, take care. Bye.